how did you even decide to help Zambia, and how did this all come to be? So I have decided to share my journey with you. My journey started in 1979. I was a very young mother. My husband was going to school at the University of Utah, and we were living in the university housing. I had one son, and he was a little baby. Money was tight for us. I was in the mode of wanting to make more money, and I had this old black and white television set that my grandmother gave me. And although I loved it because it was from my grandmother and I didn't have very many things from her, I put it in the university shopper and hoped to make a little money off of it. Kind of almost forgot that I put it in there until there was a knock on my door. And when I opened the door, there stood a very tall, very black man. And immediately I was intrigued. And he said, "Madam, I am here to see the television set." So I said, "Oh, yes, the television set. It's just right over here. So where are you from?" And he said, "Madam, I am from Zambia." And I thought to myself, Zambia? Where's Zambia? And as I'm thinking, he must have read my thoughts, because he said, "Madam, when you take the African continent, the very bottom is South Africa. And then you travel up and you go to Botswana. And you travel up and you go to Zimbabwe. You travel a little further and you will be to Zambia. And that is my country, my home." And he said, "The television set isn't really for me, it's for my wife. She is here all alone, she doesn't go to school, she's missing her family very much, and I'm hoping that the television set will help." And I said, "Well, I'd love to meet your wife." So here began a most beautiful friendship. Her name was Ruth. It's interesting. It's one of those kind of people, when you meet them, you almost feel like you knew them from somewhere else. We just immediately hit it off, and although she was very different than me, I was intrigued because, I loved the jungle and I loved National Geographic, and I wanted to know all about elephants and giraffes. She made me think about the people. I'd never thought about the people. I never thought about how hard life was for some people. But when you learn these stories and you feel of her pain for her family, for her loved ones, and it makes you appreciate what you have so much more. And she said, "Peggy, I know, you always want to know about the animals, but I want to tell you that life is very hard in the jungle. You can't live in the jungle. We call it the bush. And if you live in the bush, it's very hard to grow food. It's very hard to rely on the rains. Your children will be hungry. People in the bush are hungry." She'd always remind me, everything is hard in Zambia. But I'm an American student, young, starting my family. It didn't really mean anything to me other than I loved our friendship. And then came a really difficult time because, of course, they had to go back. But when we said goodbye, I believe that was when I really started to want to know more. I would receive letters from her. She just couldn't go back to Zambia. It was very difficult, so they ended up in South Africa. For 20 years, we wrote letters back and forth, and she described South Africa to me. And when she finally, the first time I remember when she was able to call me, it was so amazing. I was thinking, I'm talking to you, and you're in South Africa. It was just an amazing journey of technology too. This letter writing we were doing, it would take maybe a month, maybe 2 months, I mean at least a month. And then I would get a letter and I'd write a letter and she'd wait 2 months, and even corresponding was really difficult. This was the beginning of something big. I didn't know how big, but she was my friend, and that's all that mattered now.